They got to Greece and the Balkans because of the Ottoman control, and Italy was because there was a certain amount of freedom still in Italy, because the Vatican did protect Jews to some extent. There was the idea that we want to keep the despised people alive as a witness to what happens to people who abuse or kill the Son of God. So they didn't want the Jews to disappear, the Vatican. They never did. Now, evangelical people do want to convert Jews, but the Vatican didn't really want to convert Jews. They wanted to keep the idea of despised people in existence. So they weren't really mistreating them in Italy as such, and I don't even think they were particularly despised there. But they were allowed, because of the Vatican influence there, to come to Italy to some extent after the expulsion from Spain and other places. Well, you see, he is already writing about a kind of Zionism and returning to support by the toil of your hands the ancestral homeland with pride, to rehabilitate their own selves and restore the homeland to flow with milk and honey, very romantic. And, quote, farming too will then be the core of the productive economy and stimulate its growth. This is in the 1850s now that he's writing these things, 1840s. Now this is the main point here. Instead of financing immigration of Eastern Europeans to Central and Western Europe to be corrupted, and to America to be corrupted by Western civilization, egoism, atheism, etc., the effort should be reversed and focused on the land of Israel, worked by Jews, which would restore the former bloom and blossom, and also bring about a cultural revival. A homeland then would be the center for justice and righteousness, that mission to the people idea. We'll hear that again in a person's work called Ahad Ahad, who I personally don't like very much, but when I don't like someone, you do hear it from me, and I apologize for that. I'm not objective. We're reading here about Luzzatto, and Rudowski got very good material on him. That really would be his solution. Stop bringing immigration to the West. Stop bringing immigration into Germany from Eastern Europe and further in from Siberia and elsewhere. Stop sending people to America and Argentina. Go and restore the homeland to bloom, and that would redeem yourselves, and it would also upgrade the land itself, which is virtually lying in ruin and decay. So he's really a forerunner. He's attacking the Maskilim. But he's a Sephardi, and it's really interesting. The Sephardis do have never did fall for the reform idea. They still haven't. This is why there's no Reform Judaism in Israel to this day, because the Sephardi rabbis will just never allow it. You know, it just never will. It just never be. Maybe one day they'll maybe make way for conservative Judaism, maybe, but they don't even recognize conservative Judaism in Israel. Only Orthodox Judaism is recognized, whether Sephardi or Ashkenazi is recognized in Israel, even to this day. And I told you about that. The reason for that is also has to do with the Ottoman Millet system. You remember I told you about the Ottoman Millet system? Sorry to keep you here on Halloween, but I appreciate your diligence for being here. Millet. What is a millet? National entity. The Ottoman Empire was based on self-governing national entity, something that we didn't realize when we went into Iraq. We still don't realize that. Well, of course, Iraq, the British didn't realize it either when they created Iraq, which is an absurd creation to begin with. But if we had any brains, we would have studied history and realized that you have millets. You have a Shiite millet, you have a Sunni millet, you have Armenian millet, you have a Jewish millet, you have a Greek Orthodox millet, and they were allowed within their own personal areas of administration, marriage, divorce, things like that, to basically control their own community, which is what you see is going on in Iraq at the moment. And there's no way to put Humpty Dumpty back together again, short of an insane butcher like Saddam Hussein, or Saddam Hussein, whatever you want to call him. My kids used to call him Saddam Hussein. So. But anyway, Saddam Hussein. You know, I'm not commenting whether it was right to remove them or not right. I think that you should, if you can do justice in the world and bring about some sort of right, that should not let people be brutalized if you can do anything to help it. But if you do stop people from being brutalized and you know, murdered and everything like that, and something should be done in Darfur, by the way, too. This is a disgrace, what we're witnessing around the world, not from America. And particularly Europe is disgraceful. They do nothing ever. They did nothing during the Holocaust, and they do nothing now. And they wait for us to do something, and then they laugh and criticize us. And we're overstretched, so we can't go into Darfur. But Darfur is a genocide going on, and nobody does anything about it. The UN just plays games, and the European Union plays games, and it just goes on. And nobody has it on the front page, because the journalists don't care about it. Yeah.
Just digression. Where do you think Iraq will end up?
I'm going to say that in a minute. I don't have any idea where it will end up, because I think the administration is learning a little bit, but I don't want to digress any further than that. I think they are beginning to learn. It's a bit late because they're going to lose the midterm election here. And they should, on social issues, probably lose. I'm not saying that on social issues they're anything wonderful. You see, if they had had a proper understanding, I don't think it was unjust. It's never, to me, in my mind, unjust to deal with brutal, unjust people. Someone has got to take care of the bully in the schoolyard. You know, whether you like it or not, we have the ability to do that. We've reduced our army to the point that we don't have the ability, and I think that's a shame, because they don't want to, they've reduced taxes, so they don't want to spend for an army. I read in the paper that McCain wanted the regular army, not the reserves, to be increased by 100, 200,000 men or something, and women, something like that. And the Bush, Rumsfeld people resist, because they're all into pinching pennies because of their tax reduction program. They don't want to, you know, increase the regular army. And you know, I don't want to go into all of that. But the point is that if they understood the Millet system in Iraq, and they had people who understood how this place worked, I think they could have gotten a handle on it, put it that way. And that's hindsight, of course. But I was always for the deconstruction of Iraq, even back in 1991. I wrote an article that the New York Times accepted, and then for some reason the State Department got involved and made them reject it. It was called what was it called, on the dismemberment of Iraq. That was what the article